مرحبا، أنا اسمي ياسر العمد. I'm blocking the بدكم. أنا صاحب ومؤسس مدرسة والدورف هون للأردن. هاي ثاني سنة إلنا. هلا أنا اليوم مش حاحكي عن مدرستنا specifically، بس حستعمل أمثلة من مدرستنا. بدي أحاول أوضح لكم رؤية والدورف، فلسفة والدورف، وإيش هي والدورف. طبعا في جوانب كثيرة we'll touch on بس شوية منهم. وحستعمل صور من مدرستنا، بس الهدف مش يعني المناظر اللي حنشوفها هي كأمثلة. شوية خلفية. والدورف نظام تعليمي بلش exactly قبل 100 سنة ب 1919. It started in Germany. المؤسس لأول مدرسة اسمه رودولف ستاينر، كان فيلسوف ومفكر وساينتست. بس هي مش نظام ألماني. احنا حتى ما بنحب كلمة نظام عشان هي فلسفة وابروتش وثقافة مايند سيت يعني. حاليا هي depending on how you count أكثر من 2500 مدرسة، تقريبا 80 دولة، 84 دولة. وهنا بالأردن موجودة كمدرسة مبنية على هذا الأساس، بس برضو في مدارس من زمان وبري سكولز they incorporate elements of هاي النظرية في تدريسهم. احنا نقدنا لطريقة التدريس التراديشنال انه وي ثينك، او خليني ابلش هلا. احنا فوق في المعرض اكيد زهقتوا من الاحرف IB PYP IG SAT ACT MYP DP and so on and so forth. we think انه هذا غلط، التركيز على المناهج قبل ما تسأل البيسك كويشن اللي هي شو رؤيتك للديفلوبمنت اوف ذا هيومن بينج، للتشايلدهود، وين التشايلدهود رايح. اذا عندكم رؤيه، اذا عندنا كمدرسين كمعلمين كeducators an idea of human development, then we can adjust curricula or make decisions that have to do with how you organize the school والمناهج على هذا الاساس. بس I think كثير في التعليم عم بنصير زي اللي بسوق وبدنا نروح محل وعارفين vaguely وين هو، بس ما عندنا خريطة ولا عندنا أفق. فإحنا we start بكل مدارس والدورف ب a certain vision of human development اللي هي high representation إلها. برأيتنا children بمروا in 3 phases اللي هم willing اللي هو doing، feeling اللي هو imagination and storytelling and so on, and then thinking, which is what we think of as academics. This is why we say in التدريس بالوالدورف or any good education should be through the hands, which is willing, through the heart, which is feeling, and then also through the head, which is thinking. So بناء على هذا, you can then build a curriculum. So this is a very common chart of a Waldorf curriculum. It varies from school to school, from place to place, بناء على الثقافة، وبناء على القوانين، وبناء على طبعا the choice of that particular school. But if you notice, it starts with thinking, feeling, and willing, and it gradually becomes more academic. So you plant the seed, and then you get where you're going. برأينا اللي عم بيصير بالتدريس إنه آخر إشي اللي مفروض to come last is coming first. فصار عندنا preschools where قاعدين عم بنعلمهم 3rd and 4th languages. قاعدين عم بنعلم coding to 4-year-olds. This is all highly analytical, cognitive, advanced thinking that we think needs to be built على a foundation that is more holistic, stronger. فهلا بالتطبيق, what I'd like to do is just show you some pictures and talk about what you might see. It starts with, if we kind of close our eyes and imagine what a classroom should look like, أو شو هي الغرفة الصفية المثالية, because that's where learning takes place. And how a school defines a classroom حيأثر على كل شيء ثاني. So in Waldorf schools, a classroom might look like this. It's a pretty traditional classroom, desks and students looking up at a board and a teacher saying something. A classroom might look like this, a little bit more interactive. It's pretty common. بنشوفه بكتير مدارس, معظم المدارس. It might look like this, which is a little less traditional. If you notice, some of the kids aren't even looking at the teacher. Maybe that's the way هم بيفهموا, بيسمعوا. It might look like this. Notice في textbooks, في ولد رافع إيده, but it's a psychological change. It's an opening up of the self, but we feel that therefore بيكونوا الطلاب more receptive. We'll go from there. It might look like this, KG circle time. It's pretty important to us to note that in this case, the teacher is doing what she's asking her kids to do, so they do it with her, they learn by imitation and not by direction. This is also a classroom in our school. احنا متعودين نشوف الأولاد الصغار بيلعبوا with blocks. That's very important. نحكي على motor skills وعلى counting skills. وهذا تمام, but it's actually just more about developing their bodies at that age. In the middle school years, this is a 4th grade classroom. They also play with blocks. This is how they learn things like balance. This is a part of a physics class. So they're studying the forces of balance, of gravity, of height, of measurement. This is the process of them doing it. If you were there in the classroom, it's not called a science class, it's called an English class. All right, so what they're doing is they're talking about a story, about a castle, and they're trying to build the castle. So what they're exploring is all these things in one, and it doesn't even look like they're studying. But we think that they're learning a lot more than لو إنهم قاعدين بيتفرجوا. This is also a very important classroom. احنا بنقول عنها break or recess. But the kids are talking, they're exploring, they're thinking about the world, they're learning to cooperate or work together. So Waldorf schools have a lot of that. In other words, لو تتمشوا أي مدرسة والدورف في العالم حتشوفوا كتير مناظر that don't look like classrooms. وممكن الواحد يقول إيش هذا ما في مدرسة نادي صيفي whatever. This kid needed a break. كان عم باخذ حصة بده يتحرك يغير مخه. So he took a little break. Notice the other kids are still learning. We'll come back to this, but what they're studying here, they're learning knitting. So we'll come back to that. Another thing you'll notice in all these classrooms, what you won't see in any Waldorf school is digital technology. وهاي نقطة maybe controversial وبنرجع لها إذا بدكم وقت الأسئلة. We do not believe in smart boards. We do not believe in iPads. We do not believe in even watching videos as part of the class. We don't believe in typed work. We think they should write the work. In our libraries ما في كمبيوترات. Databases هم card catalogs وshelves. عشان we feel like Waldorf schools, they introduce technology بأعمار مختلفة. But it always comes later. Because زي ما قلنا, we believe you start with doing, then feeling, and then finally thinking. Another really, really important thing that's بيميز من نظام Waldorf is what we call meaningful work. يعني الشغل أو التدريس اللي له معنى. بيعطيكم مثال من البري سكولز احنا كثير بنشوف وبنحكي على السنسوري بلاي والفاين موتور سكيلز سو بنشوف البلاي دو او هلا الكينيتيك ساند وكلهم الى اخره كل الاشياء. فالاولاد بيطولوا من السطل, they play with it, they do whatever they're doing, maybe they form a shape, maybe they form a letter, كثير حلو, nobody's against that. بيرجعوا على السطل and then they move on. We do the same thing, except what we'd like to do is we ask them to bake some bread and we teach them how to bake bread. So what the kids are doing is exactly what you might do with Play-Doh, except they're also learning science, they're learning about chemical changes, they're learning about the world around them. It's wholesome. If they eat it, مش مشكلة. So it's by definition non-toxic. But what happens is, the next time this is the bread they actually made. So they don't put the Play-Doh away, they've had the experience, but the next time they see bread, they have this whole body of experience behind it. And they're developing the same skills that they would have done with Play-Doh. So that's what we call meaningful work. In some school systems, بيكون في ألعاب like graters. You know, طلاب أخذوا صابون, they grated, وطلعوا, and it's cool, it must be amazing. Our kids do the same thing, we do it with carrots. We call it making a salad. So again, the idea is linking the knowledge to the world. This is another aspect of linking knowledge to the world. We think this is what a school should look like. Frankly, most Waldorf educators will agree إنه إحنا برأينا كثير من الأنظمة الثانية ما بيحبوا الطفولة وما بيحبوا الأطفال. أكيد إحنا كلنا موافقين, بس بقول هذا السبب إحنا بدنا نشجعهم يعيشوا طفولتهم ويستمتعوا فيها بالطريقة اللي إحنا مش حنسويها وإحنا كبار. وهذا هو اللعب بس هو برضه تعليم. هي some more scenes هتشوفوا كثير تركيز على تركيز على working with nature and being outdoors and moving. I want to give you another example. This class, I don't know لو تطلع على الصورة شو حيتهيأ لكم, هاي حصة إيش. بجوز تفكروها حصة فن، هي actually it's a geometry lesson. هذا صف رابع. They're making mandalas, they're working with measurement. هم معكوسين هنا بالسلايد شو. If you notice there are rulers on the table. And so that's the way they study angles and circles and patterns, as they design mandalas. And it gets quite precise. وزي ما شفنا هون بلونوهم بيحتفظوا فيهم. This project might go on لأسبوعين ثلاثة. هلا بالإضافة لهذا بيكونوا عم بتعلموا about the terms of geometry and so on. But we feel like this is a lesson they'll remember. إذا سألتوا الطلاب شو عملتوا اليوم ممكن يقولوا لك عملنا فن. مش ضروري يكونوا عارفين إنها it's geometry. But they feel it in their bones and in their hearts, so eventually they will understand. So that's another example. هاي حصة عربي. هذا لوح. احنا we like chalkboards. الصورة يمكن مش كتير واضحة. نفس اللوح اللي بنشوفها بحصة تقليدية. تقطيع كلمات ونسخ كلمات وإلى آخره. Except the kids are moving and they're very active. And so again, بيقولوا هاي حصة رياضة. نزلت مثل العربي ونسقنا معهم and we made an activity. So again, learning in your bones and in your body and in your heart. Meaningful work, we like to take them through the whole process. I mean, typically you do full integration. High social studies unit, as well as a science unit, as well as طبعا رياضة. بلطوا زيتون. They take it through the whole process of making a zaytun. They're reading about botany, plants, how to grow, fermentation, salt, vinegar, acids, and so on. And at the end, they get to enjoy their olives. But again, next time they see an olive jar, and they can look around the world, and the world makes sense to them in a way that if they had just read about ثقافة الفلاح والفلاح النشيط والزيتون وقطف الزيتون ويا بلدي وإلى آخره, it might not resonate. Traditional crafts and craft making is a big deal. So هنا نسيج هلا بنرجع لها. هنا الأولاد عم بتعلموا rope basket making. Again, it's motor skills, it's storytelling, it's practical, it's tactile. This is a science class. You notice the textbooks are in their hand. They modeled it, but then they actually go outside and they get dirty. They float their boats, they write reports, so إلى آخره. هلا we saw in Nasij, this is بدي أرجع للتكنولوجيا because it's a question ننسأل فيها كتير. This is weaving. Our kids also learn knitting. This is part of the curriculum of every Waldorf school. And this is, we'll get to what this is. We get asked a lot, ليش ما بندرس coding؟ مش هي لغة المستقبل و all these things. لغة المستقبل, if you're an actual coder, بتعرفوا إنه لغة الكودينج that هدول الأطفال حيكونوا coding فيها does not exist yet. So المهم مش إنهم يتعلموا a particular language, بس يتعلموا how to think in patterns, or how to think algorithmically or mathematically, and how to build meaning out of discrete units. So who knits? Does anyone knit or crochet هنا? Okay. So what's happening here is they are following an algorithm. They design their own algorithm and they use different color sticks, so it's following commands. When they get to 9th grade and they start doing coding, they're going to remember these kinds of experiences because they already know how to think algorithmically and in logical functions. This is a science class. We like to say in Waldorf education, you start with the experience and only much later do you get to the understanding. The kids were looking for volcanic rocks. And then maybe in 4 or 5 years' time, when they do geology in 10th grade, they will remember having found their own volcanic rocks in a volcanic rock field, having modeled it as a story. So it doesn't look like learning, perhaps, but it is. It is even for bigger kids. This is a music class. Our kids take music. It's a big part of every Waldorf school. We always say the third language that they learn is music. It might look like this. It might look like this. These are traditional music classes. It might look like this. What he's doing and what they're doing is they're making an African talking drum. They're studying pitch. And so they're designing and building their own drums with variable pitch. They are engaged. They're happy. And they actually produce really complex drums. They're testing them. They're working together. That is a music class. We didn't call it a music class, we called it a science class. We actually didn't even call it a science class, we called it a handwork class. So the kids maybe راحوا على البيت وقالوا شو عملنا؟ لعبنا، عملنا، لزقنا glitter, whatever. بس they were learning all these things. هدول طلاب صف رابع. وكانت اليونت المعنية برضو pitch, literally sound. What is sound? So this went on for a couple of weeks. Then enriches, we think it makes تعليمهم بالعلوم أقوى، تعليمهم بالهاندورك أقوى، تعليمهم بالموسيقى أقوى، وأهم من هيك حبهم في المدرسة وفي عملية learning in general أقوى. And hopefully they'll remember it forever. بالآخر, the last thing I want to talk about, in the Waldorf schools, they start with values, and they start with community, and they start with how a school feels. It's the hardest thing to talk about intelligently, because you sound هيك vague, وكأنك مش عم بتقول إشي specific. But when you walk into a school or a classroom or a home, you can tell in your body how it's going and what the children are learning. And we think at the end of the day, that's what will make them into better learners. And what will make them into better people is these kinds of values. Everything we're doing, finally, is about this. This is our STAR code. It's common. It's actually, we got it from our mentor school, the Waldorf School of Austin in Texas. And we've been putting it to use, and we think we've been seeing really beautiful results. There's a lot more we could talk about. I'm going to end there. And إذا في أسئلة, we can take it from there. I don't know how we're doing on time. Okay, questions? موقع المدرسة على طريق نعور، بين نعور ومادبة، قرب من مطعم زوار أو الجاليات الدولية.
عفوا، هو مو سؤال دكتور، لكن صدقا يعني مدرستكم رائعة.
شكرا لك، شكرا.
عم بتثبتوا أهم شيء عنا، لكن أنت الطفولة ما لغيتها، بالتالي أنت الإبداع عم
هاي أساس شكرا لك، وإن شاء الله إحنا الوالدورف ممكن يتطبق مع أي منهاج أو أي نظام. وزي ما أنا قلت في كتير مسات وكتير educators وكتير مدارس already عم بيطبقوا روح هذا الإشي. فهي مش إشي exclusive، بس الفكرة إنها تكون كل إشي بنعمله مبنية على هاي الرؤية وهاي الفيجن of childhood. هذا مهم كثير. هو بيختلف from grade to grade. احنا بشكل عام وولدورف schools بيختلفوا على هذا الشيء. احنا we don't like العلامات التقليدية, whether هي numbers أو whether هي letters أو إلى آخره. التعليم مش إشي بيصير in discrete blocks, بيصير على مدة عدة سنين. فبنعمل احنا what we call skill based. So مثلا أي مادة that's broken down might be into 20 to 30 different skills. We will assess the progress of الولد on those skills. هلا the same skills might تشوفهم على سنتين ثلاثة أربعة, because oftentimes these skills take longer to develop. Not just that, but the way you do assessment. يعني الامتحانات, there's nothing wrong with الامتحانات. بس هي, you know, the term testing and the term assessment are not the same thing. Testing is part of an assessment plan, but it's only one aspect. So quizzes, interviews, activities, just general well-being discussions might be